Skylar Colley, Lone Wolf Realty Group, powered by EXP,
Correct.
real estate agent.
Yep.
I love it, man. Skylar and I have been working together now for almost a year.
Yeah.
And, well, tell us a little bit about your real estate journey, man. Originally Waters, right?
Yeah. Started off a little over 3 years ago, and had a sales background before that. Was in the software sales industry. Always had an interest in real estate. I bought my first investment property in 2018, and it was always kind of on the back burner. And I was always thinking of getting into it. And then finally, 2021 hit, and a lot of people were already changing careers, and I thought real estate really spoke to me, and felt like a really good match, and just dove straight in the crazy 2021 market. Started off at Waters. I was there a couple years, and then went to Spyglass Realty, and now at EXP Realty. And that is still transitioning, but that's definitely been a big move. Moved with Lone Wolf Realty Group, and excited for the future in 2025.
What specifically kind of spoke to you, your words, in regards to real estate? What was the big thing that was making you decide that this was a route you wanted to take?
Yeah, so I would say, really just that, I've always been kind of personable, and I've enjoyed, I really just enjoyed the buying process whenever I was, a home buyer. And I really thought that I could bring that, same kind of service to any potential buyers or investors. And I also noticed that, a lot of, agents were maybe just doing this, part-time and here and there. So I really thought I can make a career out of it. And I would say actually one of the big things that really spoke to me was actually when I was at my last company, Oracle, before I got into real estate. I remember the CEO of Oracle, he was telling us about when him and Larry Ellison were looking at different pieces of land around Austin. And I remember they, were looking, first up in Leander, and then they actually ended up firing that agent because, they wanted stuff in Austin. I remember, and then another agent found, somewhere in, on Lakeshore, just right south of the river. And I always thought, wow, that would be really cool. I could, really anyone could be my buyer. Whether that's, a first-time home buyer or, CEO of a company. But yeah, and, emphasis on, of course, knowing your buyer. Real estate really just spoke to me.
Who do you, right now in your career, and of course this may have changed since you started, and who knows, it might change as you continue. Who seems to be the client that you've been working with the most? I mean, are we dealing more with buyers? Are we dealing more with sellers? And then who is it that you ultimately want to be working with the most?
Yeah, so I've always had a knack with working with buyers. When I started off, I was actually strictly a buyer agent. And that was, definitely pretty tough because there just weren't many homes available starting out in 21.
Yeah, it was a tough market.
Absolutely. But as inventory, continued to grow, it presented more of an opportunity for buyer agents such as myself. I would say about 95% of my transactions are with home buyers. So I just enjoy kind of that nurturing process. Of course, some buyers, they could buy within a weekend, or some it's taken about 2 years to successfully find them the right home. So I think I have that kind of patience to work with buyers and help them find the perfect home, no matter what their timeline is.
I like that. I can attest to you being good with the follow-up and the nurturing. I mean, we've worked together on a lot of different transactions, clients that we've gotten approved, and you're always the one that's like, hey, what's your take on this client? I'm like, oh gosh, I haven't even thought about them in a couple of weeks or even months, and you're always on it, man. I mean, that is one thing that you do not mess around with, is the nurturing and the follow-up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely very consistent with follow up. Uh, I've, some clients, it takes even a year or two to purchase. But I always try and be the follow up king with any customers or clients that I'm dealing with.
So let me ask you, I find a lot of real estate agents that, do the buy side stuff where it does require a lot of nurturing and a lot of follow up. A lot of them will say to me sometimes, my biggest obstacle with follow up is that I don't want to bother my borrower, right? I don't want to bother them. And, in my opinion, if that's your mentality, you may drop the ball, right? And I know firsthand that that's not something that you do. So what would you say to any agent that's like, oh, I don't want to bother my borrower? And do you ever have concerns that you're like reaching out or nurturing too much?
Oh yeah, no, I mean definitely. But then on the flip side, I've noticed. It happens to all agents. A buyer could tell you, hey, give me a call in 2 to 3 months, or even 6 months, and then you give them a call in that 3 to 6 month period, and then you find out that they actually already purchased a home, or just, maybe work directly with a builder or something like that. So. I would say you can never follow up enough. I would say typically, if they tell you maybe 2 or 3 months, typically you want to actually give them a call about in half that time, and just let them know that I just want to make sure I wasn't dropping the ball, and and of course just get an update on where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to the fear that I hear from other agents from the sales side of things, I don't think I've ever followed up with a client too soon and had them get like frustrated, right?
Hmm.
Usually it's like, oh, hey, thanks for thinking of me. No, we're not ready yet. And it's a casual conversation. And I don't know where the fear comes from that, people are afraid that someone's going to like, you know what? I was going to work with you, but now that you followed up with me like 6 weeks sooner than I said, we're done here. Like, has
Yeah.
that ever happened to you?
No, it really hasn't, but I can definitely understand the hesitation. Sometimes, like when I was like first starting out, sometimes, I felt like I was just calling too much. But really, we're coming from a place, where of course we want to help people, and really just make sure that we're not missing anything. So, I don't think anyone's really, told me per se, you follow up too much or anything, but. Usually at the end of the call, they're really appreciative for for thinking of them, and I even have some clients that I've reaching out even a year after our first consultation, and just seeing where they're at, and trying to help out.
So for all of the other real estate salespeople out there, what's the trick? Is there anything you do to pump yourself up or hype yourself up to make the calls and get out there and do it? Because honestly, I've seen you go, and you are definitely one of the ones that just seems to have no fear when it comes to reaching out, following up, and all of that. And I see a lot of hesitation with agents. So are you just wired that way, or is there like a pump up song or something you have? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely taken a few years to get to that point, but I would say just always coming having your positive affirmations that you'll say to yourself at the beginning of a day or a week, and that really just helps me out. I know, for the clients that I do help and getting them successfully into a home, that they're super appreciative, and I know what the end goal is. So I would say that, and maybe some good tunes as well.
It's like Nike slogan, just do it,
Exactly, just do
right?
it.
I couldn't believe when I was watching the Amazon movie that Ben Affleck was in. I forget what it was called. Did you watch it?
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh my God, you got to check it out. It's a movie on Amazon, and it's all about Nike and how they basically like blew up the brand, and did it with Michael Jordan and everything along those lines. And they were talking in part just a small part of it was about how they came up with that slogan, "Just do it."
Hmm.
And it turns out, and this is a true story, that one of the marketing guys, they were trying to figure out a slogan, and he was reading in the newspaper, and there was some criminal, I can't remember who it was or what he had done, but he was they were he had the death penalty and he was in the electric chair. And his last words, the guy in the electric chair, his last words were, "Just do it."
Wow.
And the marketing guy was like, "Oh my God, I love this," and made that Nike slogan. And that is a true story. Like, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes the key to making those calls is just do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, it can come from a, positive place or maybe somewhere negative. I know, Charlie Sheen, who I've, watched, many times as an actor. I know in one of his famous interviews, he had also just cited the "just do it." So,
Right.
that's, that could be a big motivation as well.
So you like working with the buyers. You're a buyer's rep mainly with Waters, because I know in that brokerage they kind of split people up. Do you aspire to do any kind of listings, or do you like kind of what you're doing in the business? I mean, where are you at with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoy listings. I have actually had my first few this year, and then I have another one coming up early next year. So it is. I notice when I do listings, I'm kind of like OCD, and I always I just put a lot of work into them. And if a home's been on the market more than like a couple weeks, then I would say I wouldn't want to be that agent with like 10, 15 listings that are just sitting.
Right.
I'd want to, make sure that all my sellers are getting taken care of, and that, we're, selling their home within that exact timeline that they need. Because of course, listing a home is even more important because they have maybe a new, job or something that they have to get to, maybe move out of. A couple sellers I worked. Well, actually, the sellers I worked with so far, it was one couple was moving out of state, another out of country, and then another one just looking to upsize in their dream home. So everyone has their own situation that deadlines need to be met, and I take that very seriously.
I gotcha. One of the things I always asked is, this is one of my newer ones. I always have these kind of questions with, this being your first time. I always have kind of some basic ones that I talk about. But one of my newer ones is, especially with realtors, like the job itself has a lot of facets, right? You've got the cold calling if you're generating. Some agents are doing a lot of networking. Others are doing things like, online marketing and things of that nature to generate new business. And then after you finally identify with that client, you're going out, you're running appointments, you're doing presentations. After you're doing things like that, you're writing contracts, you're negotiating offers, going to closings. Like there's a lot of different things that are associated with what you do as a real estate agent. So with that being said, what's your favorite thing to do? And then what do you feel you're best at, which might not be your favorite thing, but you're really good at?
Yeah, I would say my favorite thing to do is, once my client is like, we've identified the property, their dream home or whatever they're looking to get into. I really enjoy the, just writing up the offer and negotiating to get the best price and terms for my client. I would say that's probably my favorite thing to do. And then I would say, and then what was it?
Was it that you're best at? Might not be your favorite, but you're just really good at.
Okay, yeah. So I would say I've gotten really good at just handling the option period. Actually, my last option period, we were able to come to an agreement within the first day or two because we just got inspection done so quickly. And then we're able to just knock out all the different repairs and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that's something I've gotten really good at. I felt like when I first started in real estate, it would take me forever to figure out the right terms for an amendment or something like that, and then also the right tradespeople to get in and actually do those repairs. So yeah, I would say that's definitely had a big learning curve. But yeah, and then of course I love going to the client closings.
Sure.
Sometimes even delivering the keys if it's needed, and yeah, just welcoming them there and them into their new home.
One of the other things that a real estate agent has to do is deal with other real estate agents.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So what another great question I love to ask as a realtor, What's your biggest pet peeve that other agents do that drive you crazy?
Oh yeah, I would say just really probably not answering the phone if I'm if I have like a hot buyer. I mean, just sometimes maybe it takes them a while to get back, and then also maybe just sometimes just being uh, yeah, I would say really just whenever there's a difficult kind of
Lack of communication.
communication barrier. Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that because now you've got me thinking as a lender, when I have a client that's a buyer that they write an offer on a property, I tell the buyer's agent to include me so that I can reach out to the listing agent.
Hmm.
And if you think it's hard to get in touch with a real estate agent as another real estate agent, I'm here to tell you it's even more difficult to get in touch with a real estate agent as a lender. So now I've just got to ask, because I'm curious, what seems to work best for you in getting an agent to respond? Is it text? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it a voice message? What is
Oh
the
yeah, I definitely don't. I mean, yeah, definitely not sending any emails, but I would say I'll typically call the agent, and
Mhm.
then, if I don't hear from them, I'll just follow up with a text, and usually, call or text that usually gets a pretty quick
Do you ever
response.
use voice messaging through text?
I have not, but I've received some voice messages, and I'm like, wow, that's like super efficient. Like, I bet maybe that agent was like, just driving in their car and
Right.
was able to just
We
send
had
it out.
Alexa Ronci on. She's a apartment locator, and she was telling me how she utilizes these, messages, which I mean have existed for quite some time. I mean, it's nothing new.
Hmm.
She says that she uses them all the time, and I started using them, and I'm trying to get a feel for whether or not they're like working, and I can't tell yet. But I've been doing it for like a month. I actually sent one today, and yeah, you said that you've received them. What are your thoughts on that? Would you just prefer a text message, or do you feel like there's efficiency, or even more like, for lack of a better term, like what is it? It's more intimate, if you will, when you can hear someone's voice and kind of hear what they're saying, or is a good old fashioned text, do you think, get the job done?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I usually prefer a text. It's just just easier to receive. Because yeah, sometimes maybe I can't play the message out if I'm in a meeting or conference or something like that. So, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool to have to get a voice text and especially maybe if it's like something that kind of requires a conversation, but
Yeah.
instead they're just recording it for 30-40 seconds or so to just digest all the information or update.
Well, I've talked about it a few times, and again, shout out to Alexa for putting me onto it. I haven't been able to tell whether it's good or not, so I'm still doing it in hopes that somebody's going to give me either positive or negative feedback. But right now, it seems pretty neutral.
Mhm.
But just to move on, I mean, we're at the end of 2024, and I think 2024, all things considered, was a decent year. People are looking forward to 2025 with a new administration, and obviously everybody gets kind of excited about a new year. What are your thoughts about 2025 in real estate? Do you have any predictions, or any kind of I don't know, ideas or vibes that you think 2025 is going to bring, or are you just hoping for the best?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for 2025. I feel like, the past few years have been a pretty down market for agents, as or so I've heard. And actually, I saw just the other day that we actually had less transactions, so less closings, even though we have a way bigger population amount of agents in uh, compared to 35 years ago. So that's pretty wild
Mm.
to think about that. But but yeah, I'm really excited for 2025. I know a lot of agents have had difficulty these past few years, so I'm really excited to see what an up market looks like because I guess I haven't truly experienced a boom market yet. So I think there's a lot of potential and opportunities in that.
Anything you intend to do differently in 25 that you didn't do in 24?
Yeah, I would say for 2025, since I have a pretty large client base now, or past client base, is starting to put together some client events that for anyone to any of my clients to attend, And I think that would be really exciting. And also, sending out Christmas cards, these holidays. So, yeah, really just looking to, connect with a lot of clients and, see how I can also get into their sphere and help their friends and family as well.
What's interesting about those client events, because I do quite a few of them with other agents,
Mhm.
and I think one of the biggest mistakes that agents make when they do these client appreciation events is that they call their clients, they encourage them to show up, and then they don't really let the clients know that at the end of the day, you want to do right by your client and, shower them, appreciate them or whatever, but you're also looking to get to know people that are close to them in their life.
Mhm.
And I think the big mistake that I see from time to time is like, let's just say you've got 30 past clients. Rule of thumb, typically 50% of them aren't going to show up. They're going to come up with an excuse, or they might have a legitimate reason they can't make it. So if you can get 15 of your 30 past clients in the room, that's actually successful. But what if you encouraged your past clients to invite like a close friend or family member and double those numbers? The reality is that, yeah, you want to do right by the person that you did business with in the past. But when you get to meet the other individuals that are in their lives, those are the people those are the ones that don't know who you are.
Mhm.
And I feel like during these client appreciations, I don't see enough people in the room that no one knows, right? And by no one, I mean like someone knows them, but the majority of the room doesn't.
Mhm.
And when people are bringing friends or, of course, it's like you can't bring your entire family type of thing, but almost like, hey, we're doing a client appreciation. Come to this event, bring you and your wife that I know who bought a home, and then please bring a guest, right?
Yes.
And have everybody bring like a guest, whether that's a couple or even just one individual. That's the part when I do these client appreciations that I feel like most agents are missing.
Yeah, that's definitely. I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, I'll be sure to on my invitations add a plus one, plus two, or
Right.
or heck, even if they want to bring a whole friend's family or something.
Well, there's always people out there to take advantage of a good time, but you don't want everybody. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you tell someone, hey, bring a friend, bring someone that we don't
Yeah.
know, and I'd love to meet your close friends or family, like that. That's really where you can start meeting people you don't know, capitalizing on that relationship and the people they know as well. And I've seen others, I've seen agents do it right, and I've seen agents. It's sometimes they just don't know,
Hmm.
right? So client appreciation events for 25. Anything else that you would do differently?
Yeah, I would say probably just tapping into my sphere from University of Texas.
Okay.
Of course, have a lot of friends from there. So a lot of them, still, in Austin.
Hmm.
So some I keep in contact more frequently, but some I haven't spoken with in a while. So I would say leveraging those connections and relationships.
Get them to that client appreciation
Yeah,
event,
and then
right?
get them exactly, and then make them a future client.
Well, you let me know when you do it, man. I'll help you put it on, and we'll help you sponsor it because those events are always really good for me as well. And hell, I love me. I love a good party.
Oh yeah.
And well, speaking of parties, now that I got you on here, Skylar was one of the agents that we brought on to the Gold Star boat trip. So for those of you that don't know, Gold Star has a very nice boat right outside of Aventura, between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and we try to take care of the agents that take care of us. And so we brought how many agents did we have out there? Maybe like 6, 7?
Yeah, something like
We had
that.
like 6 or 7 agents and a couple other referral partners that we had, and we hung out and did a little trip on the intercoastal on a big yacht. Check out the Instagram. There were lots of photos, but Skylar was there. Tell us a little bit about it, man. How was it?
Oh man, it was incredible. I had been to Miami one time before, but yeah, not as a work trip. But right when we got there, we took a little detour, and Matt thought that we were going to
That's
the
right.
hotel in Fort Lauderdale. But it was cool. We got to see the coast all the way from basically Fort Lauderdale, Ventura, and Miami. Made it to our hotel, and it was really cool. I got to network with some other agents that Matt has worked with out of Ohio. And one of the guys also leads a team, so it was cool hearing from him. And yeah, always just networking with other agents. Now I have solid referral partners that I can go to in Ohio. But yeah, other than that, it was just incredible food, and of course the yacht was amazing, and I'll definitely be back out for next year.
Lots of partying, lots of good times. There were a lot of agents that I invited that couldn't make it, and then when we put up the post, they were like, "Oh my God, why didn't you invite me?" And I was like, "Well, we tried to get as many people on there as we could, but it's definitely something that we want to consider doing at least once or twice a year." So, those of you that are interested, let us know. We'll keep you on the list, and we'll reach out when the time comes. But we just got back, so it'll be a couple months. We'll probably try to do something in the spring.
Oh yeah,
But Miami's a cool place. Very expensive, but
it
fun.
is. Yeah.
Lots of food. I think you said it best, man. We ate like kings when we were down there. It was a good time.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
But I liked it that we had a lot of agents on the boat, and there was a lot of talk about real estate. Everybody's trading, industry secrets, war stories, all of that. Everybody's got their stories about the worst client they've ever dealt with and the best client and everything like that. I really do feel like, in addition to the fun and the partying, that those events are great for, just enriching yourself as a real estate agent, because there's always the one agent who's newer, and then there's the other agent that's been doing it for 25 years. We try to keep it an eclectic group, and yeah, I know I had a lot of fun, but I mean, it's similar to what we try to do with the barbecue stuff that we do every Friday, which Skylar's another big fan of. That was the one thing that I've identified about Skylar. This guy can eat, man.
Oh yeah,
He can eat. I was shocked. But yeah, every Friday we do that barbecue and mingle. We get agents out, to come and eat, and like I said, tell those war stories about the industry, your favorite client, your least favorite client, and really just try to prop each other up, because I think 24, all things considered, was a really good year. The irony is like, when I talk to other agents, and I'd like your take on this, I thought 2023 was a really tough year. In fact, they say this business runs in 7 to 10 year cycles. And I would say that if we were in a 7 to 10 year cycle, 2023 was year one of the cycle. And then 24, although not like way better than 23, definitely a better year. But I'm hearing the reverse from a lot of agents, that they felt 24 was more difficult than 23. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I would say 24 was, yeah, it was definitely better than 23.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say by a long shot.
Right.
But yeah, I would say this is kind of the first year I was coming up on 3 years, and really felt
That's
like
kind of the sweet spot for any agent.
yeah,
That's when you really start to figure it out.
exactly, and yeah, I really just had my bearings, and I would say, I mean, yeah, 24 has been my best year yet, so looking to constantly improve and increase my quality and service in my business, and yeah, basically starting that 7 to 10 year cycle.
I get it.
Yeah.
So now being with EXP, I know that one of the things that we've talked about off of the podcast is, you've got your 3 years under your belt. You're, I'd say, all things considered, a seasoned agent now. Do you have any aspirations of, having conversations or sitting down with people who are considering real estate and having a conversation about entering the real estate business? Is that something that do you want to sit with these agents, have those conversations, and kind of say, hey, I can help you?
Yeah, I would definitely like to, help any new incoming agents. Just have that first conversation about, what interests them the most about real estate, and seeing if they're a good fit for the team. Of course, we're Lone Wolf Realty Group's already been expanding quite a bit in these last couple of months, but yeah, I would like to really just get those critical questions answered, and see and help that either agent or aspiring agent determine if real estate is the right fit for them.
When you're with you again, just 3 years ago starting in the business, is there anything that you identified that because I'm sure that there are agents that started at the same time as you that probably they're not real estate agents anymore, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's kind of the statistic. Is there anything specific that you would point out to somebody who is thinking about getting into real estate that might be a misconception? In other words, if they were to say to you, Skylar, hey, here's the reason I want to get into real estate. Here's what I'm thinking. If they said something is there anything that they would say that you might go, I don't know if this is for you?
Oh yeah, I remember there was one guy. I mean, he wasn't becoming an agent, but he was just telling me about all of his friends that left their different sales careers and then they got into real estate in like 21. To make that money, make that quick
Right.
cash. And man, I'll tell you, it was nothing about nothing really revolving around quick cash with real estate. I mean, it's a slow. It's a really like an everyday grind. I mean, your results, what you do now, you'll start to see results, probably 3 to 6 months in the future, because of course these, clients take a lot of
Even that's kind of quick.
Yeah, and that exactly, and that's actually pretty quick by real estate standards. But yeah, I would say anyone that's looking to get into real estate to make quick money, or maybe they watch Selling Sunset, or Buying Beverly Hills. I like that show quite a bit too, but
That's not real life.
it's not real life. The reality of it is, yeah, you're probably not going to start off selling 20-30 million dollar homes. But yeah, I mean, it's if you would just enjoy real estate, and kind of if you like that kind of prolonged kind of reward. It is very rewarding, of course, once you get to that closing after 6-7 months. And yeah, I would say if you're if that sounds very rewarding, and and then a lot of closings can also just kind of happen together because folks just tend to buy homes at the same time. Around Austin, it's typically about March to August. But yeah, I would say if you have that kind of long-term mindset, I think you'd be a really good fit to be an agent.
The one thing I always think about in this business is how, to your point, people get in, they see the money that can be made, and then they look at it like, hey, if I can't make this money in like 3 months, like I got to find something else to do. And it reminds me of people that are like in the trades business, right? And how quickly everybody's read the meme of, the guy who comes over, he says, hey, I've got a problem with my whatever, my plumbing. He comes in, he fixes it, takes him 10 minutes, and he hands the guy a bill for like $500. And he goes, whoa, $500. It just took you only 10 minutes to fix it. And he's like, well, it took me forever to learn how to do this. I had to get the tools. I had to do this. I had to do that. Real estate's very similar in respect to that. Like, you don't just like clock in and start making money. And I just find it interesting that most people get into real estate because they think there's going to be like flexibility and a big check at the end of it.
Oh yeah.
And what's your experience in respect to that?
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely. So I mean, you do have flexibility in the terms that if you have anything pressing in your personal life, you can go as long as of course you don't have any client meetings set up, you can go and really tend to whatever that is. But you still need to have a regular hour. Kind of at least working 9 to 5, and then oftentimes you're working into the evenings and weekends. So yeah, it's definitely a big time commitment. I would say the first year, I felt like I was just working, every day of the week, really. If I would have,
And for free at times.
and yeah, and a lot of times for free. So, that's, but again, that anytime I was working for free, I was also learning a lot. I was getting a lot of that good experience. Like anytime, I'd maybe be disappointed by a certain outcome or something like that. I always took it as a learning opportunity. And like I remember I drove these, like when I first started, I drove these clients around kind of like all over Central Texas. And but really I looked at it like I was also just getting to know all the different communities, all the different price points, building relationships with new home salespeople. So always just taking everything, even if there is some kind of letdown there, as a learning experience.
I like that. It's one thing that we don't talk enough about. I mean, we talk about it a little bit, but we don't talk about it enough on this podcast, is how important just, attitude can be, right? Where hear you talking about driving people around Central Texas, and you're not looking at it like this is a waste of time, I'm not getting paid.
Hmm.
You're looking at it more as an opportunity with an attitude of I'm learning the area, so the next time when I've got a client, I know what's going on. I'm going to be way more efficient in giving recommendations and heck, even with directions, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's one thing we're all guilty of is not having the attitude of it's an opportunity, right? There's what's the line? You're either winning or you're learning.
Hmm. Yeah, and I would say the big takeaway from that experience was I actually should have really just pointed them the direction of West Austin because they initially had told me we want 450, 500, maybe $600,000 home. But in reality, they're and they would have been moving from California, but the reality is that they a home in Lakeway or maybe Dripping Springs out west where the home prices were really more 800 and 900,000, especially in that market, is really where I should have led them. So I would say kind of having those conversations up front about maybe they can tell you that they want a certain price, but then of course in reality, everything that you show them in that price range is not going to fit their needs.
Gotcha. So we talked a little bit about 2025. We're going to focus on the sphere a little more, maybe do some client appreciation. Because the one line that I always repeat to myself that I heard about 4 years ago, and this was very powerful to me, and I think it holds, it's good for the podcast for a year-end type of goal-setting thing where they said, raise your hand if you've, been in the business 3 years. Majority of the people raise their hand. They go, raise your hand if you've been in the business for 5 years, and smaller, 10 years, 15 years, and it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And they go, okay, now how many of you have been in the business maybe 1 year, 5 times?
No.
And everybody's like, huh? He's like, I'll say it again. How many of you have been in the business 1 year, but maybe 10 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is one thing that I always remind myself because I think it's unfortunate that we fall into this trap because I personally have met a ton of agents. I've got to deal with the agent who's like, hey, I've been doing this for 20 years and I've never seen this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, anytime I hear an agent say that, I think, well, how many transactions have you done in 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I know agents that have been in business for 20 years that have done probably 5,000 transactions. And I know agents that have been in the business for 20 years who have probably done 5 transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are continuing to do the same things year over year, heck, you might be a 1-year agent, but you've been in the business for 10 years, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you're not constantly learning and evolving, it doesn't matter how many years you've been in the business. You are the agent that I just described where you've been in the business 1 year, 5 times, 5 years in a row, year one. So going back to 2025, we're talking about doing a little more of the sphere of influence, doing some customer appreciation. Is there anything else you think? And again, we're not there yet, man. We still have 3 weeks to do our goals and whatnot. But as 2025 rounds the corner, is there anything else that you're like, you know what, I'm going to start doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, in terms of planning for next year, probably just doing more. I would say probably mainly just the client events, and also uh, just being around, just networking with more agents. Actually, this year was my first year. I actually flew somewhere for a conference.
That's right. You went up to Minnesota.
Yeah, so I went
How
up.
was that?
It was really a cool experience. I was up there for a few days, just with all real estate agents nonstop, and we were just we would have different breakout sessions where different topics were about maybe getting an investment property or how to give like a world class buyer experience and buyer showing. So that was really cool. I met agents from East Coast, West Coast, really all over the U.S. And that was a really great growth experience. And yeah, definitely.
So if I'm
recommend it.
hearing you correctly,
Yeah.
selfishly, going back to my barbecue and mingle, you're telling me that meeting with other agents and collaborating actually is good for your business.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Just want to make sure because, sometimes the pushback that I get when I invite agents is they're like, yeah, they think that, they're just coming here to like eat barbecue and like hang out. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that's part of it. But the main idea behind it is to get agents around other agents with the intention of talking about work, right? Like I don't ever, not that this has ever happened, but I don't ever want someone to come here and then all of a sudden people start talking about real estate and a real estate agent says, hey, listen, I'm just trying to relax. I don't really want to talk about real estate right now. I'm off the clock. It's like, well, then you're at the wrong place, bud.
Yeah.
Because like this is all designed to continue to have those conversations, share tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff. So it's a breath of fresh air selfishly for me to hear that you flew up to Minnesota, went to this training, collaborated with other agents, and your key takeaway was the collaboration with other agents from around the country. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
What was the biggest thing that you felt, for the audience? What was the biggest takeaway that you had in respect to the collaboration with other agents that for you personally?
I mean, I would say one of the things that I really liked was, well, I was actually reading the book. It was kind of based on the conference I went to, and I liked that once your business gets to a certain level, you can actually one of the ideas I thought was interesting was you can actually employ different showing agents, either pay them a fee or even split the commission with them. But once you have maybe you have to run around 4 different buyers or even more on a given weekend, that utilizing those showing agents, which of course we've taken advantage of in the past, whenever maybe one of us is out of town or something. So I really liked that aspect. You can kind of scale your business that way because of course you can only show so many buyers on the weekends. But yeah, I also liked talking with other agent that was there, and he had mentioned how important the team is really, and I noticed once I joined a team at my last brokerage that was when my business really started to take off. So I feel like having these sync ups that we do every morning, and really having that strong, tightly knit team atmosphere is just super helpful. I mean, real estate can get very tough, over a period of time. So having that team culture along with you, and being able to stay highly motivated and give the best service possible.
That's something that I've seen. I go to a lot of these conventions myself, and as a lender, I go basically as a real estate agent. I'm not there as a lender, but I'm there to kind of figure out, or even just kind of a lot of what we do in our business is interchangeable. So for me, I think a lot of these trainings are good. And one thing that I've really noticed over the last few years is how agents are really gravitating towards more of the team mentality and everything along those lines, and gravitating towards the benefits that are associated with it. And single agents are really, don't get me wrong, there's some single agents out there that are just straight killing it because, they know what they're doing and they've been in the business for a long time. But I would say for most agents, I'll just use the 80-20 rule, probably over 80% of agents would really benefit from being on a team versus, doing the whole single agent thing. They're just they're just not there yet. Or I think going back to what we talked about with the barbecue, or even with, what you have up in Minnesota, it's tough sometimes doing real estate and not having other people to, bounce ideas off of, or even just kind of like vent to. And it can be a little, it can be a little discouraging. So having a team, just even as a sounding board, I think is important.
Oh yeah.
And single agents, yeah, sure, you could call like your real estate buddy or whatever, but I don't know. I see when you guys are together as the team, and I see what happens here on Fridays when other agents get together, and I really, I don't even think you guys are doing it on purpose. It lifts everybody up, right? To kind of see that other people are going through some of the same things that y'all are going through, or Sometimes you have that agent that's just killing it and is saying, here's what I did and here's how it worked. And I see the light bulbs go off for some other agents like, shit, that's what I'm going to do next time. So it's like a win-win. You know, if someone's telling a horror story, people can relate. And if somebody's telling about a big win, others are like, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that next time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, so important that, whenever you do find success in real estate, you share it with the team, and then we can find a way to, replicate that and increase success for everyone.
I love it. Anything else you want to cover, man? We're coming up on an hour. You believe that?
I cannot believe that. I thought we were at like 20 minutes or so, but
it goes quick.
Yeah.
Well, in the first one, I always tell people, we want to get the basic ground level stuff. I don't want to hit you too hard, but you got to make sure that you schedule another one because, this is like anything. You get the reps in. I think it's going to be an exciting year in terms of data and everything along those lines. So we can start doing market updates and all of the things that are associated with that and really start getting some additional content out to your clients.
Absolutely.
You got anything else you want to cover?
I actually had a question for you.
Yeah.
I've, as an investor and, for any investors that are, listening to this podcast, I'd love to hear from you in terms of, because I know you've also bought a few investment properties in the past.
Yes, I own a couple different properties.
I was just curious what you look for in investment property and how you tell if it's a good investment. Of course, we always hear, cash flow, but would love to just hear your own perspective.
Sure. So for me, the first thing anytime anybody asks me this question, and this is something I don't think people talk enough about, is what I like to call just appetite, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning, what are you, what is your appetite for investing? Because it's different for everybody. Now, the knee-jerk reaction is I want to make as much money as possible. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, me too. But to what degree, right? Because as an example, I personally am not a huge fan of being a landlord, mm-hmm. right? I deal with enough people every single day. It does not get me jazzed up about having to deal with tenants that, might be good tenants, might be terrible tenants. Every time even a light bulb goes out, they're going to call me. I'm going to get on a ladder and change a light bulb. You just never know. And the profitability in something like that, even if it was more than some of the other investment opportunities out there, mm-hmm. I probably would shy away from it. And I've had people say, well, get a management company, that the management company is going to cut into the profitability, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's the very first thing that anyone that is investing in real estate needs to identify what it is that they really want to do and then look at the profitability portion of it. Because usually it's the other way around, right? Mm-hmm. They look at what's the most profitable, they go down that road, and then they find out it's way more than they thought it was going to be, or it's way more taxing. Again, going back to the people part of it. So that's the first piece of it. Because again, going back to being a landlord, are you handy? Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh, yeah.
What if something breaks? Are you personable? What happens when you have tenants that are, totally disrespectful and frustrating to deal with? Are you going to flip out? Mm-hmm. And, these are people that live in your house. Like, you've got to be good at managing people, mm-hmm. right? So that's the first thing. And if you can identify what it is that you personally are looking to do, that right there, in my opinion, is the main goal. So for me personally, I don't personally like holding properties if I can, get away with it, right? Mm-hmm. I would prefer to flip something, especially with having the avenues that I have in real estate with all of my connections with real estate agents, buying a property that is in an area that is sought after. My joke is that people don't know how to do anything anymore, so I tend to be a little handy. Mm-hmm. I like purchasing properties that are in sought-after areas and certain price points where we can buy those properties, we can put some money into them, we can turn them around, and we can flip them. Main reason being is because I don't have to deal with tenants and things of that nature, and then more importantly, being in the real estate community like I am, it's an opportunity to, even if we have to lose money on the commission side as far as lending or real estate, like it's harder for me in my situation to lose on a flip than it would be for an average consumer, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things that I always tell people is that if you are going to get into real estate, you better have at least one of these three things figured out. Ideally, all three, right? But if you're subbing every single one of the things that I'm about to make mention of out, getting into real estate is going to be a little more difficult. So number one is you're going to have a good relationship with the lender, or you're going to have to be the lender yourself, cash. So if you're a cash buyer right off the rip, boom, like check box one. Number two, you better be handy, or you better have some sort of contractor that you know and like and trust that's going to be able to come in a timely fashion, who isn't going to rip you off, is going to be honest, and is going to do good work, right? And then number three, you better know somebody who's a real estate agent, same thing, that you know, that you like, and that you trust, because all three of those things are the major components of investing in real estate. And if you're subbing every single one of those pieces out, this is why in your, your convention, the majority of the talk is about, hey, get into investment properties, because you guys already hold one of the three things I just made mention of, a real estate license. So if shit hits the fan, you could waive your commission, right? You could sell a property and not charge a commission, and right off the bat, you're talking anywhere between 3 to 5% that you could potentially lose, which nobody wants to lose, right? But that way you're not like underwater on something. And that's why as a real estate agent, flipping is a great thing. When I'm talking to just straight investors though, I know that was a long answer, but I don't think it's a one sentence answer, right? Find your appetite in regards to what it is that you can stand, whether it's flipping or whether it's long hold. And then number two, you need to create a group, or at least become one of those three things, So if you are a contractor, or if you are a mortgage lender, or if you have cash, or if you are a real estate agent, right off the rip, identify what your appetite is. You already have one of the facets that I just talked about. Getting into investing is probably something that you could be very successful doing.
Very cool. Yeah. And I feel like that was part of my, motivation to become a real estate agent, of course, long term. Once I, start to see even more volume, closing, I would say at least 25 or more units, potentially even, getting more than one unit a year. But yeah, that I always wanted to, build my own expertise. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have already got a real estate license. Now you've got to seek a contractor that you know and you like and trust and everything like that. You've got a lender. So, you've got the 2 out of the 3. Now we just need to get our 24 taxes done, and then, have a good year in 25 and start buying up all of Austin.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you having on. Appreciate you coming on. And we got to do this again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
For the first time, you did fantastic, man.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
All right. We'll see you again.
All right. Skylar with Lone Wolf Realty Group, checking out.
There it is. My man.